Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Stadium Showdown. I'm your host, Jeff Slauson. This week, going to be showing you quite a bit of renderings, going to be breaking down some infrastructure changes that are either going to be happening or planned to be happening in Brook Park, plus how other communities are trying to make sure that they are in a good position when the stadium goes in to eventually succeed. We are going to start first with renderings and new updates from the Browns themselves. So, I want to bring you over to the big board. We're going to look through a couple of the renderings that they released, and then we'll hear from the Browns. So these renderings were released during a video where the Browns also interviewed the lead architect for the stadium plan. This is somebody that has worked on the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, on the Los Angeles Rams and Los Angeles Chargers Stadium, and on the stadium that the Vikings use in Minneapolis. And that one has a lot of inspiration with the one that is currently being built and designed in Cleveland. Obviously, snow to snow, right? That is an area that gets a ton of snow, a ton of cold. So building it in a similar way seems obvious, and it's the most obvious in the roof. Now, you're going to hear from that lead architect in just a bit, but I want to just go through. Again, these are updated renderings. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing massively changed here, but still, it's important to notice what was changed. So just want to point to a couple of things here. So first, this right here, that's kind of like eye level, right? That's like the leveled portion of it. That there, and then this right here as well. You're going to notice that there is kind of a pitch to this. That pitch is really important here because you have here the slope of the roof that is angled downward. Again, we're going to hear from the lead architect about why exactly that is, but that is incredibly important when we look at the holistic approach that they're taking with the stadium. That sloped area is going to be a big deal for snow removal. We had seen the renderings kind of a little bit here. We didn't totally know where the sloping was going to take place. Now we know it's going to go in line with the field, right? So you have the field right here. That's going to go in line with it as well. Now I'm still looking and trying to make sure that the way that the stadium is going to be built is one where the sun isn't going to impact the players, because now you're seeing there's a massive roof here. It doesn't look like there's any sort of large window areas that would get in their eyes. Anybody that's watched a Dallas Cowboys game, you understand what I'm talking about. Again, this design firm designed the Cowboys Stadium, so you'd have to hope that basically the east-west was taken into account to make sure that the sun's not going to get in anybody's eyes. But still, you're going to have these large windows up top. A lot of controversy around the stadium, right? They've constantly said whether or not it's going to be indoor, outdoor. Many fans want it outside, not going to happen. It seems like they're kind of going along with that and saying, oh, no. It's going to feel like it's outside, but it's going to be inside. You're going to hear a line like that very similar to it. A couple more things I want to point to, and then we'll show you a couple more renderings on this. Let's look at the top portion. So that's kind of like the quote-unquote nosebleeds, right? There's one over there, and then there's another one on this side behind me that you can't really see. Those two areas, I think, are important in this as well because, according to the Browns, that's actually going to be the closest any upper decks are to the field. In addition to that, this area here, that is going to be the dog pound. That's going to be very unique to what any other operation has been doing, any other football operation has done. If you've seen what the Los Angeles Clippers have done in the NBA, that's going to be similar to what the dog pound's going to have. So what they are planning for the dog pound, again, seen now in this new rendering, you will notice this is drastically different than what we saw before because the area in which the dog pound is almost like a continuous space, right? It's like a wall. You can tell the slope of it kind of angled down. You have this seating right here. That's on purpose. According to the developer, according to the lead architect on this, they want it to be kind of a wall of fans, and that's exactly what these renderings show. We haven't seen a look like this previously. Obviously, trying to showcase Myles Garrett is very important there too. There's some more seating on this side, more seating also on this side, and then obviously it wraps around. But the dog pound is what's really going to separate this from any other stadium potentially that has been done, in addition to new concourses, obviously, different areas to look at similar to that. This is the wider range of it, right? So now we know that right here, this is Cleveland Hopkins International Airport. The alignment of the field kind of goes like this way and then this way. So if that's north, then we can assume that this is built west to east to not be impacted by the sun, but we're not totally sure on that. Again, it's tough to kind of scale it, but it does look like this is more north-south. So it does look like the stadium's not going to be impacted, at least front to back, from the sun. The sun's obviously going to go over this way, so it hopefully won't affect the eyes of the quarterback. Again, if you have seen the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, you know exactly what I'm talking about, where they have a large window and the sun gets in the eyes of the players. But there's nothing really new from this angle here. In addition to this angle here, this is just one of the concourses. The only thing I want to point to on this aspect is the developers have been very clear on this. They want it to be a more flowy kind of feel where you can kind of get into the access of the stadium much easier and faster. If you want to go get a drink, want to go get some food, it'll be a seamless experience from the concourse to the seats. And then the last rendering that we're going to show you here, this is just one of the entrances. You can tell that the way that they're trying to make this is more open air, considering the fact that this is something that is going to be closed off. Again, these are the developers behind the SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. That has a canopy almost over it, so it's not a total roof. So it's something that, well, yes, it is open air and outside, it is covered. So they're taking inspiration from that as well. So again, let's play for you now the interview that was done. Again, this was conducted by the Cleveland Browns, and the video was courtesy of the Cleveland Browns talking to that lead architect. I do want to stress, I've tried on multiple occasions to get an interview with this guy, so it's great to hear some updates on it. Let's listen to those now.
Our design process from day one till opening day is all about creating that authentic version of large-scale entertainment venue for Northeast Ohio, and it really does drive every decision that we make. And so all the unique features that you see in our previous venues, those were created for those fan bases and for those locales. And you know, we're excited about bringing new items and new things here to the fans of football and entertainment throughout the Northeast.
Well, let's talk about some of these unique design elements that you think really kind of capture Northeast Ohio. And I know the dog pound, we've seen that in the renderings, which is, you got to have that if it's going to be Huntington Bank Field. So what are some of the things that you're really excited about that you think reflect kind of that goal?
You've got to start with the dog pound and the idea that it is a celebrated item. You know, when we were listening to the fan base about what they wanted in the building, number one was to restore like the power of the place of the fans of the dog pound. And so we've created essentially a vertical wall of fans for the dog pounds. We have brought them as close as we can to the players into the end zone. We're going to have the visiting team run out right beside them. It is going to be a raucous wall of electricity, and we're excited about that. That informed the decisions. Like, really, the seating bowl was informed, the whole design of it, around this idea of catering to the kind of fandom of Browns Nation.
I love the idea. I hadn't even thought of that because, you know, in most stadiums, the tunnels are kind of, the locker rooms are where they are, but the fact that you're going to have the visitors run out by the dog pound is, I love that.
Oh yeah, I mean, home field advantage, right?
No doubt.
I mean, that's what we have to do, and that's what we look forward to. Those opportunities, a little unique moments, you know, that make things just a little bit more interesting for the visiting team, and make things just a little bit more exciting for the hometown fans and the hometown players. I think the seating bowl itself is such an invention for this team. It has the seats that are the lowest and the closest in the NFL. And we're really proud of that. It has the smallest upper deck of any large venue in the NFL, meaning that we've taken the large upper deck that currently exists, you know, on the lakefront. We've redistributed all those seats lower in the seating bowl, getting people closer to that action. Yeah. And that's really about creating an atmosphere and energy, loud, palpable. You know, the noise, we want you to feel it. You know, we want you to feel it in your toes, feel it in your body, that sound. And then as you go through the seating bowl, after we've gotten the fans as close as we could to the action, really one of the unique moments about the design is the roof itself. So influenced by the Cleveland Museum of Art, and what really is like interesting about the design of the roof is that it's reflective of all those great spaces, found spaces in the city. And we've started talking about it as Northeast Ohio's next great room. You know, it's going to be bathed in natural light. You're going to feel like you're outside. You get all the power of being outside, you know, in the way that the light filtrates into the building. It's going to be spectacular for a fan. It's going to be a comfortable place to watch a game. It's going to be a comfortable place to see a concert. And we're really proud about that. But it also amplifies the sound of the fans. And that's something that we have a long history of researching in our group. And it started out with the exploration of the ETFE roof in Minnesota, which was a first of its kind in the league. And we doubled down on that with the roof at SoFi. And any fan that's been in those two buildings, they can get incredibly loud. And what excites us about this opportunity is you take the Browns fan base and you apply it with design that is used to amplify their energy, and now you're talking about something pretty magical.
And again, that video is courtesy of the Cleveland Browns, hoping to potentially get that lead architect on our show, because obviously we'd have many questions and would love to know even more about the stadium. All right, coming up after a short break, we're going to be looking into Brook Park's plans for infrastructure. I understand this is not necessarily the sexiest topic to talk about, but when you're adding in a 70,000 potential seat stadium or having 70,000 fans going to a stadium at a town that's never had it, you gotta make changes. And to get those changes done, they're gonna be calling in potentially the federal government. I'll be explaining exactly what they're talking about after a short break. So by now we all know what the Brook Park site is going to be looking like, right? So right there, that is where 480 kind of goes past, and then the airport is kind of that way, right? So the site's going to be in that generic area. Around it are a lot of different highways and throughways that are going to be massively impacted by a new stadium. You got 480 up here. You got 71 over here. You got Brook Park Road over there. You have Berea Freeway right there. Then you also have, obviously, a bunch of more smaller, lesser used roads with hundreds, if not thousands, of homes that are right along that area. They will be the most impacted by this stadium. Other than, of course, the actual infrastructure. The Browns know it, Brook Park knows it, and they have known it since they initially started planning. It's been no secret. They've been very upfront with the fact that potentially $90 million of infrastructure changes could be needed in order to make sure that the stadium can be successful. So the process of doing that obviously starts right now. You got to handle that before people are at the stadium. So again, every single party knows that. Problem's kind of been, how are you going to handle the payment in it, right? This is going to be included potentially in the $3+ billion for the entire site. But the infrastructure needs to be in the control of Brook Park. It's Brook Park's roads, right? So they have to have a part in this, a piece in this. The Haslam just can't pay for everything. They can have a part in the project. They can't pay for the whole. This is where grants come in. We've known this was coming. We've known that the city of Brook Park would be looking at grants very heavily. And now we know how. This grant right here, it's called the BUILD grant. It's one of those things where it is a bunch of words put together that barely make sense in order to have a catchy acronym, right? B-U-I-L-D. I think there's a couple other letters in there too, but whatever, it doesn't matter. So the BUILD grant is through the federal government, particularly through the Department of Transportation. Just gonna get all this in there. From right now until February 24th, Brook Park can submit an application. Now, right now, they are in step 2 of 3, basically. Legislation has to pass that approves the mayor to do this. That has happened. So step 2 is done. One more reading needs to take place. Another vote needs to take place, and then they're good to submit their application. Again, this is going to go toward the DOT, the Department of Transportation, for this grant. Now, the BUILD grant individually is supposed to be for transportation projects. Just that. It can expand, but obviously this will qualify for the Browns. Between $1 million and $25 million, that's how much you can ask for. And last year, I checked about how much eligibility there was and how many people did it. This year, there's $1.5 billion. So there's a lot of money. Last year, there were 815 applicants looking for $10 billion. 30 projects were taken with $488 million in grants. But this year, there's more money available, right? 3 times that amount. So Brook Park is hoping that they will be a part of it. We sent Colton Molesky to the meeting that was held on Tuesday night to ask the mayor a couple of questions. Very brief interview, but I want to play that for you right now.
The BUILD grant will be utilized for monies for the highway improvements that we're doing in and around the city of Brook Park.
How much are you going to be asking for?
We are going to be asking for the maximum amount of $25 million.
What happens if you don't get this grant? I know I'm going over my skis here a little bit, but what happens if you don't get the grant?
Well, we'll continue to just keep working and applying for any other opportunities that, will have a great return on that investment.
So yeah, if they don't get this project, it doesn't seem like Brook Park is that concerned. There's other grants potentially available. And obviously there's more funding they can dip into and then maybe move some money around. So it's not necessarily end all be all for this. However, still would be a big deal if they did not get it. As for the Haslams in this, I mentioned how they will be participating money toward this. They sent a letter to be put into their official application that basically says, look, we will put any additional funds that are needed toward this, right? So the Browns are going to be offering whatever is needed to fill everything past the $25 million. Again, if they get this grant that Mayor Urquhart said. So if they get $25 million from this grant project, let's say the additional 10, 20, 30, 40, doesn't matter. Let's say there's overruns. The Browns are on the paper. They're in writing saying they will take care of it. And that helps with a lot of these grants because it proves that the money's going to actually go toward the project that they claim it is needed for. All right, and coming up after the break, Brook Park's not the only one that needs to make some changes. Aria Janelle has that story after a few-minute break. Welcome back. The impact of a new Brown Stadium is obviously not just going to affect the Cleveland Browns, it's not just going to affect the city of Cleveland, and it's not just going to affect the city of Brook Park. Every single area around Brook Park is going to see some pretty big issues. Think about your standard game day. Traffic can be a bear, and that's not just around the stadium, everywhere. Think about the people in various areas around Brook Park on a Sunday at noon that go out to do something that is going to be drastically changed. Now, the mayor had talked about this. Remember those NOACA meetings a couple of weeks ago? The mayor stressed, look, we understand if you want to go for a drive at 12 o'clock on a Sunday, you will have a very different change that's needed. There's going to be a big impact. But for the most part, he said it's going to be marginal. But what's going to be the impact potentially on the infrastructure in those areas? What's the impact on the traffic in those areas? Studies are needed to be done to make sure that those things can be figured out. So Aria Janelle spoke with Middleburg Heights, who is very much so needing to look at this as they border Brook Park.
This traffic study is going to focus on Bagley Road, specifically the section right near Engle Road. I'm told that during peak hours, it can get pretty congested here already.
Middleburg Heights Mayor Matthew Castelli is walking me through why the city and the Haslam Sports Group are keeping their eyes on this intersection.
It's only a mile, 2 miles away from where the Brown Stadium is going to go.
Meaning you could be sitting here on Bagley, stuck in traffic on game days or nights when other events are happening. It's important to know along this portion of Bagley, there are mainly businesses, not a lot of homes. But it is one way to get onto 71 that could create some issues for people coming and going from the stadium.
And if there is going to be more congestion added, we want to make sure that there's a plan to manage it going forward.
That's why the Browns are paying $50,000 for a traffic study. It will look into traffic patterns and safety concerns. Castelli says while the stadium will bring more business to his city, that comes with a price.
Understanding congestion, that has an impact on business, so it's important that the traffic continues to flow.
The mayor's expecting to get the results from that traffic study in about 30 days. From there, they'll decide if any changes need to be made. In Middleburg Heights, I'm Aria Janelle, 19 News.
And hopefully once the results of that study come back, we will be able to provide that information to you as soon as possible. And of course, if you want to watch any of our previous episodes of the Stadium Showdown, go ahead, scan the QR code on your screen right now. Every single episode available for the Stadium Showdown. And that's it for the latest episode of the Stadium Showdown. Thank you so much for watching. We will see everybody coming up next week. Hopefully some more updates to come. A very busy week, of course, as always, here with the show. For now, I'm Jeff Slauson with 19 News. Have a great day, a great night. We will see everybody in a week.